Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be a 5 eyeshadow palette review. Welcome to everybody watching today. If you are into eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice reviews, and getting the use out of your makeup the way I am, then definitely stay tuned because today's video I'm going to tell you all about the last couple of eyeshadow palettes that I tried. So this is my last review of 2022, but I've got lots more of this planned for 2023, so I hope you'd like to stick around for that. I have more than 5 here today, like the concept is 5 palettes, but I had a lot of these like smaller quad things lying about, so I wanted to make sure that I roped in just a little bit more. So let me just get to it. And in case you're new here, it may be good to know that I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, which greatly skews my makeup preferences. And because I've been buying, trying, and reviewing makeup for more than a decade, I also have some very strong preferences. So if you would like to join the Snow Angel Club, then definitely click subscribe down below. So what will we be talking about in today's video? The 2 quads from the Kaleidos Nights of Creation collection, the Glossier Monochromatic palette in Jute, the Melt Blueprint palette, Natasha Denona My Dream, and ZC's The Palace Identity palette. So not all of these things are new to me, which is why I'm featuring a little bit more than 5, because the Melt Blueprint I used to own as a stack, but it came shattered and then someone gifted me the palette. I was like, might as well throw it into one of these videos. And I had a lot of these like little quad things, so that's why I was like, it's okay if I have 6 things to try out. I think I can manage. And 2 things, if the audio sounds a little differently than you're used to, I bought a new microphone, and this is my first time filming with my new microphone, so I hope the audio is okay. And if I sound a little out of breath or raspy, I've just gotten better after being sick for more than a week, and this is my first time filming again. So if I do sound a little like this, then that's why. But I figured I could do this again. And it may be good to know that if you've never seen one of these videos before, I always include swatches, close-ups of these palettes, as well as looks that I've done with these palettes, and I will have tried every single shade at least once in every single one of these palettes. So there are going to be multiple looks with some of these, so let me just start off with the first thing that I want to feature, which is these 2 little Kaleidos quads, and it's what's on my eyes today. Yes, I decided to actually try and recreate an image that I saw when these launched. It was on the Kaleidos Instagram, and I was like, that's a cool look. I wonder if I could recreate something like that. This is my version of it. It's not a perfect recreation for sure, and it's using both of these as well, but just for the sake of the video, I did try these separately as well, just to show you to be able to show you what these did separately. So the one I like the best is Flowing Haze. This is really lovely, cool tone purpley shades. It is a little bit more gray taupe leaning than I had expected from first seeing these, and it has a really stunning, more shifty kind of shimmer. It is a little bit of a darker shimmer though, so overall this pool's quite dark and smoky, and it's actually a lot of what I've got going on in the crease and like the first half of my lid. In fact, I used a lot of the mattes in this palette to sort of lay down like a base layer, you could say, for this shimmer and also the shimmer from the other palette to sit on top. And then I also used some of the liners that came in this collection because I have those as well. I bought the entire collection at the time. So yeah, the Flowing Haze is my favorite one because it has those cooler tones. They are a little bit deep, but I think that these like undertone wise just work better with my skin tone, and I felt really pretty wearing these for sure. And I think if you were to pull in like another shimmer, or even if you have something like a pink toned highlighter in your Shop My Stash at that moment, you could very easily mix and match that and like dab it on. And you can go very neutral with this, I think, because if you just stick with these 2 neutrally shades, you have a really nice basic eye look, or maybe just this as a one and done shadow, maybe a bit of the shimmer to accentuate some things, and then you have this darker grayish purple to nicely smoke things out and create more depth and drama if you'd like. The one that I thought I wasn't going to like so much, but I like it a lot better now that I've tried it, is the Glowing Iris. And the reason why I thought I wasn't gonna love this is because it is quite blue leaning, and I don't always love very blue leaning purples, but these work more in a periwinkle kind of way, and I do really like periwinkles. So periwinkles in my brain are like a blue with a hint of purple to them, and I thought this was going to be far more purple judging from pictures I had seen than what it actually is. So when I got this home, I was like, ooh, that's very blue. I'm not sure I'm gonna like it. But then it turned out to be quite periwinkle, and I do love myself a bit of periwinkle. So yeah, again here I use some of those mattes mainly along the lower lash line this time. So this is in the outer part of my lower lash line today, and then this is also on the lower lash line, and then this is in the inner corner, and then I use this lighter shimmer in like the inner corner part of my eye. And I think that this shimmer I preferred over the other one because the other one has a very dark base. So I feel that that is what makes the palette super smoky. I think that if the shimmer in that palette had more brightness to it, I would have liked that shimmer a lot better. But I think the way I'm going to use these from now on is to use the mattes from this palette, but the shimmer from this palette. If that would have been one palette, I would have been like even more over the moon, I think. But I wore this already for you in a video that I posted earlier on in the month, and a lot of people were telling me how much they liked my makeup look that day, and I really was very chuffed with what I did with this one palette as well. So it was very pretty, but of the two, the Flowing Haze is definitely my favorite. But if you do own both, then just know that I very much recommend pulling in this shimmer with the other palette because I think that's very pretty. And then for the look that I'm wearing today, actually, I also roped in some of the multi-chrome eyeliners that came in this collection. So that's what you see that I've got going on here, this like intense stripe. I just wanted to try these, and I think they're not thin enough to really be able to do this kind of like graphic liner work. They're a little too chubby to really make that work, but I feel that this works really well, and I put the blue one on the lower lash line just to add some brightness there. And I think that that works really well. So I'm really chuffed with the way this came out. I'll pop a picture up on the screen of the inspo that I used. I wasn't able to recreate it fully. I mean, I'm in my late 30s. I don't have very smooth eyelids like the model has. And I definitely think that I have a very different eye shape compared to hers. But I thought I could give it a whirl. And I just like this like very smoked out sort of outer V kind of situation that's very matte. And then just using those shimmers to sort of create some sort of gradient towards the inner corner, and I really like this. And I wanted to also do a look where I use both of these quads together so that you could see how they also combine. So those two I really enjoyed. I think it was a really great launch. I definitely think that the Kaleidos quads that came out this year, also the ones from the Smoky Nostalgia, are some of my favorite launches of the year. Another small thing that I tried is the Glossier monochromatic eyeshadow in the shade Jute. I already put this on my eyes for you in my full face of Glossier that I did in October, and I could tell right off the bat that I really like this. I mean, it's taupes. They're very light taupes. They're very cool tone taupes as well, and especially this like shimmering thing is really pretty. Now these palettes do have a bit of a sort of system behind them, and I think that if you are very much into very pigmented eyeshadows, this is not gonna be for you. Then I would recommend more of the Kaleidos things, because Kaleidos quads have really great pigmentation. But with these, I feel it's a very soft, I mean, Glossier is all about the barely there sort of thing, of course, so that's what you're gonna get with these shadows as well. So we get a matte, we get a satin, and then you get a more high shine topper. So the way this works is that, you know, you could just use a matte every day. Maybe if you want to amp it up a little bit, use that shimmer, and then if you want to glam it up, you can use that. So in my brain, this works very much like the Charlotte Tilbury quads, where you also get like two shades for a very neutral look, something to deepen it up, and then something to top it up and make it a bit more glam. Here I feel we don't get the deepening up shade, so I would have preferred this if it was a quad and we got one deeper taupe so that we could also use that as a liner or something like that. Then I would have liked this better, but I think for travel this is great. I mean, you also, oh, I never really took off the little thing. Oh, that's very satisfying. So you do get a mirror inside here as well. It's nice and compact, and from what I was told in store, you could actually lift out the little tray so that if you have a few of these, you can very easily mix and match these, I believe. And you can also buy refills. So if you were to go through them, you can very easily do that as well. So I think that that's a good thing. It says here as well, refill me at glossier.com. So I really like that idea. It feels like a metal tin, so it's quite heavy duty. It's really one of those things where, you know, you can buy one and have it forever. That's definitely the intention here. And I really like these shades. In fact, I was very much umming and ahhing between this and their more mauve-y toned one. They also have a gorgeous cool toned purpley mauve one that I'm very much like eyeing up now that I've tried this. I've liked the quality of this, and I definitely want to see if I can get my hands on that the next time I visit Glossier, but I'd have to travel to London for that, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, this is the Glossier Monochromatic Eyeshadow Palette in Jute, and I thought it was very pretty. Next up is the Melt Blueprint palette. So this is the outer box. I kept it because I like it so much, but this is what the palette actually looks like. So it's got the blue, and as I already mentioned in the intro, I did own this as a stack previously. And this time around, I wanted to make sure I did a blue look, I did a brown look, but I also did a look combining those. And this was gifted to me by someone who said, hey, I have this double, would you like it? And I was like, yeah, sure, because my stack, when it arrived, this shade in the stack, and also I believe this shade in the stack, were completely shattered to smithereens, which was very, very, maybe it was this one. Like I had two shades that had completely smashed, and I pressed them back in and they were fine. And then I think I showed it in a haul, or I did something like filming with it, and then I dropped it on the floor and this shade fell out completely over my, over my rug, and I just couldn't get it back in, and there was just not enough shadow left for me to repress it into the pan. So I had already lost that one shade, which meant that in a I think it was not even the declutters I did this year, but the year before that, I decided to get rid of the ones that were broken, and I only kept like these two shades in the blue because I was like, that's what I like best about this anyway. But I'm really glad I have this again because I love a good blue and brown bronzy moment. This is so fun, especially in the summertime. Like, this is one of my favorite kind of color stories to reach for in the summertime, because you've got those warmer bronzy tones and then you have the blue oceany kind of feel. So for me, perfect like summer palette for sure. And I really enjoyed the looks I did with this. I thought it was very pretty. I felt very pretty when I was wearing it. I just feel that these two brown tone shimmers are just a little too warm for me. Like, this looks a lot more cool toned in the pan than what it does when it goes onto my lid, I feel. And this is just a little bit too orange. So I would have personally picked different browns to go with the blues, but I still love the blues in here as well. I'm very happy that someone gifted this to me and that I now have it in my collection again. I think Melt has some amazing eyeshadow quality, at least the ones I've tried, so I knew this wouldn't go wrong, and I really like the design of the packaging. Like, it's like almost like scientific kind of like, but makeup. Make it makeup. It looks like an architectural drawing, like engineering, and then it's got lipsticks and like Melt packaging on there, which I think is really clever. So I think this is a great one. If you're into this kind of color story, then definitely try it out if you'd like. I think this is a good one for my collection for sure. And then we have Natasha Denona My Dream. So I bought this, I think, like very soon after it launched, because when the pictures of this leaked, it looked to me like it was a combination of glam and retro, which are two of my favorite Natasha Denona palettes. And then very quickly people were already saying it's a lot more warm tone than glam, it's not the same as retro, but I do think it kind of takes elements of both of those palettes and then it amps up the saturation. So I think this is a palette that is especially good for people with deeper skin tones. If you are struggling getting something like the glam to show up on you because there are so many light shades, then I think this may be pretty, because this, everything here has a little bit more depth and a little bit more saturation to it than I feel those other two palettes have. So take the warm things from glam, take the purpley things from the retro, and then just turn up the saturation and you get this palette. We do get a multi-chrome in here as well. Now I do have to say that since I was ill for more than a week, I've kind of forgotten what looks I did with this palette, because it's been a while. It's been a while since I used this. So Let me see, I think, what did I end up doing? I think I did a very neutrally look with these like cool-ish tones. Now this shade is really interesting because it looks like a straight up taupe in the pan, and a lot of people were saying that it's warm toned. I feel it's warm and cool at the same time, and that depending on your undertone, it's going to pick up on either one. So I feel this has a warm base, but the shimmer and shine of the shade is cool toned, is a taupe. So I feel on me it looked like a warmish taupe, and it worked really well for like a very basic eye. I think I may have pulled this one in. I think I also did like a peachy look with some of these shades here, and then something a little bit more plummy with some of the shades over on here. I thought it was pretty. Were there shades I was missing? Not really, but for me, it's perhaps just a little bit on the deep end of what I like to use. It was very workable indeed. I like the formulas in here. The multi-chrome is fun to play around with. But now that I have it, I'm like, did I really need this one in my life? Perhaps not. But especially this shade here, I thought I wasn't going to love, but once I started using it, it wasn't as orange as it looked in the pan. So I feel this kind of bridges the gap between cool and warm very well. So I would, now that I've used it, judge it as a full-on neutral palette. So it's very hard to find good neutral eyeshadow palettes that aren't too warm and that aren't too cool toned, and that I feel a lot of people can then get away with. So if you hadn't tried a Natasha Denona palette yet, I think this may be good. If I didn't own the Glam and the Retro just yet, I think I would have liked this a lot more. But since I already own those, and since I already have some things from Natasha Denona, now that I've tried it, I'm like, it doesn't really add much to my collection for sure, but if you're a first-time user of Natasha Denona and you're looking to buy your first palette, I think this may be actually a good one, because it's got everything that is good about Natasha Denona, but it's all in one palette. And finally, we have Zishi's Palace Identity palette. This is number 3. I believe they have a couple of different, like, color stories there. This is just the outer box. I want to keep this outer box because it's so pretty. The palette itself is also a stunner, which is why I requested it when they asked me if I wanted to try anything from their website. And look at that. Like, it's got these, like, is it 2 lions? Dragons? I don't know what they're called. But it's like, it's got this, it's so ornate. I mean, these Chinese brands, if you are a magpie like me and you love your extravagant packaging, then check out these like Zishi, Florasis, what's the other brand? Flower Nose. Like, they have stunning packaging and you want it all just because of the packaging. I love this. It's really, really nice. It also feels very hefty. Oh, again, I didn't take the cover from the mirror just yet, but also the inside, like the embossing of this thing is absolutely gorgeous. And I have to say, the first time I tried Zishi, I got to try one of their palettes that has face and eye products in one. And this is just eye products, even though I'm pretty sure that round pan in the middle you could use as a blush if you'd like. But yeah, this was really nice. These are pretty soft eyeshadows. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mattes, 1, 2, 3, 4 shimmer. So for me, I would have liked there to be another shimmer for sure. And I thought when I saw this online that this ring in the middle would be a pressed glitter. It definitely looks like it. If you look at it in a pan, it looks very gritty. But the minute you stick your finger in, it just becomes a very pretty metallic eyeshadow. So I ended up loving this a lot, and a lot more than I had expected. I was able to pull some really stunning looks out of it. They were very sort of pretty, soft, ethereal, fairy tale-like looks for sure. Is this highly unique in my makeup collection? No, but just for the packaging, you want these things. Is this going to be my new everyday eyeshadow palette? No, because it is, again, quite warm-toned. And this is one of the cooler things they have to offer. That's another thing that I have found with trying Zishi, is that a lot of their undertones are quite warm-leaning, and none of it is very cool-toned, even if they say they are. There are some cooler tones in here, like these two for sure, but this is quite warm, this is quite warm, that is quite warm. These shimmers are quite warm as well. So it's got some warmth, some cool tones, but yeah, it made for some very stunning, very pretty looks for sure. it's not gonna be my go-to palette, but this is gonna go into a Makeup Memories box because I just, like, this is the protective thing that comes with it. I just want to keep this around. It's just really, really pretty. I may just want to put it on display in my makeup room. So those were the 5 eyeshadow palettes that I tried this month. Of course, this is an ongoing series. I will be coming back with this series in the new year because there's always more eyeshadow palette to try, you know? And they are always lovely, and there's a couple of things out there right now that I'm very excited for. So next month, I think I'm sort of up, like, these were things I bought in September-ish. That's when I got them in. September, early October, so we're pretty good on like staying up to date with the reviews now. I don't feel as behind as I used to. So yeah, January is probably going to feature some things I got in like October as well, so happy with that. And of course, I try only 5 new palettes every month so that I have space in my monthly makeup trials to go back to older things as well. So next week you can actually expect to see how I got on with my selection for this month, like the older palettes that I tried again. And starting tomorrow, we are going to be talking about my end of year favorites. So I'm going to talk about all of my favorite products, also some worse products that I didn't love as much, over here on the channel as well. So I hope you'd like to stay tuned for all of that goodness, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.